Thanks, Dorian. So I'm not proud of that, but I will still speak about that. So, as Dorian said, I'm Xavier Grand, software engineer at Algolia, and I work on the engine. And today I will tell you about how I broke production. So the agenda today, so I won't reintroduce Algolia again, because now you know what is Algolia. I will introduce what is behind Algolia. So then you will be able to understand the issue, and finally we will speak about what we learned after that. So first, Algolia. So Algolia is a homemade search engine. When you subscribe to Algolia, you have access to a cluster of 3 nodes. The replication factor of the cluster is 3, so each node can process independently the data. And for performance reasons, we use a homemade format. Then for the deployment, we do a rolling upgrade procedure. So what is a rolling upgrade? It's just the fact that you deploy first on one node, then the second one, then the third one. You don't deploy on all of them at the same time. So it has 2 advantages. First, you can stop the deployment in the middle if you notice an issue. And then you don't shut down your service during a short period of time. But doing a rolling upgrade means that your software needs to support different versions at the same time, which is not that simple. And to make the deployment safer, we have different environments. So first, we deploy on testing, then staging, and usually all the bugs happens there. And finally, you have the production. So now I'll speak about the messages that we share in the cluster. So when a customer sends a write operation, it can arrive on any of the 3 nodes of the cluster. And then this node will create a write message to propagate the change to the 2 other nodes. So this message is versioned, so we can add new information. We use a binary format for performance reasons, and this message is enriched at each step of the process. So now let's speak about the interesting part, the issue. So it's back in 2016, it's the end of November, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are gone. We had a code freeze because our customers doesn't want us to deploy new things. But we have 70 changes to deploy now. But I'm quite lucky because we have only bug and performance fixes. So on the paper, it seems like it will be fine. Then my timeline of the day. So at 3 p.m. after my little coffee, I decide to deploy on the testing clusters. Everything is fine. So then 30 minutes after, I decide to deploy to do the rolling upgrade on one node of the production clusters. And the cool thing when we deploy is that the deployment procedure is smart enough to test if the new software is running, and if it doesn't, directly revert it. But as usual, it didn't crash directly, but 3 minutes after. So then I did what the script was supposed to do. I reverted, but then it was still crashing. So that's where you start to sweat a bit. So then you try to quickly fix the issue. You try 1 solution, 2 solutions, the 3rd one. Then you are out of ideas. And then the last part, a call from your CTO. Then the pressure starts to be pretty high. But the cool thing, my CTO was not there to blame me. He was there to help me. And so the first thing he did was to take a step back and decide that, okay, the production is broken. We don't try to quickly fix it. We will really analyze, so take time to dig inside the code to find which part is broken and try to match which change could have caused that. And so finally understand the issue. So as you may guess, so the issue was message corruption. So one of the bug fixes enabled the new message format to be able to leverage the headers, the new extra headers. The thing is, this message is persisted on disk because when you send a new write operation, you don't want to lose it when we deploy the new software. So that's why when I reverted, the issue was still there. And why I didn't notice that on the testing clusters? It's because I deployed on all of them at the same time, because we don't care about downtime on the testing machines. And the issue was was on that. So since we are updating the message during the processing, if the new message arrives on a node with an old with the previous version of the code, it does a downgrade of the version. And so basically, on the corrupted format, you see the extra headers were interpreted as the message. So since it's a binary format and we don't know what is in the file, it starts to crash. So to find this issue, it took an hour and a half. So after that, you are already exhausted. You found the issue, and now you have to fix the servers. At that time, I deployed on 12 clusters. So since it crashed on all of them, it's a 36 machines to fix. And so it took an hour to fix that. We had two options to fix the issue. The first one was to fix the corrupted messages, because at the end you just need to put the version at 2 when you have the corrupted message. But the issue is that you need to identify which messages are broken, which are not, and then write the script that will update that for you. And so instead of that, we choose a faster solution. We decided to remove those messages. Since we are not a database, we don't really care about losing data, because our customers already have the data on their side, and so they can easily send it again. And so we put the service back and running after almost an hour, and then we asked our customers to send the data again to fix the issue. So the conclusion. So I will start to speak about like the technical details, how we made sure that this issue doesn't happen again. So the first issue was the number of diffs. Since we have a cut freeze, we can't really deploy on a e-commerce website, because it's the time where they make the money the most during the year. But if you are a social media website, the traffic is the same during a Black Friday and a Cyber Monday. So we just identified which customer doesn't need the cut freeze to continue the deployment on it. The second issue was the procedure, because we didn't deploy the same way on testing than production. And so instead of changing the way we deploy on testing, we introduced a new environment, staging. And so with that, we have the best of both worlds. So we test the new version on a complete cluster, and we test a cluster with an hybrid version, so the new one and the previous one. And finally, inside the code, we added more validations. So basically, the nodes are not trusting each other. So if one is broken, it won't propagate to the others. So that's for the technical part. Then for the how to handle an issue in production. So the first thing to do is to ask for help, because at the end I didn't have any more ideas. I should have called my CTO before, because also I had 36 machines to fix, so just to solve all of them, it would have taken twice more time. Then the second thing to do is to communicate with the team, because while you have the server broken on one side, you have the support request coming on the other side. So I was not able to like duplicate myself to do both at the same time. So the first thing I did is to ask other colleagues to like answer those support tickets while I was fixing it. And an important thing to do is to regularly give updates, because they are in front of their computer, it doesn't work, and so they want to know what is happening. And especially in that case, they were concerned if the search was still alive, and it was the case. Only the indexing was broken, so the indices were still fine. We were still answering queries. Only the new updates were stuck. So it's really important to like help them to understand the issue. And the most interesting part is the post-mortem, because so the first thing to do is to not point fingers, because we all know who did the mistake. We don't need to remind him. And it's really an interesting exercise, because first you need to evaluate the impact. So if you are able to break the production of your whole production with like a wrong command, there is an issue somewhere in the process. You should improve it. Then the second thing, the timeline. So it helps to write slides after. That's where I have all the time. And also it helps if you have a consequence of multiple actions, because here it was a simple case. I deployed, it breaks, but it can be 3 or more actions resulting in the bug. So it helps to understand the bug. And once you know every steps, what you can do is to take like actions on that. So that's the third point to do, the action items. So first, if you write them down, you should fix them, and it helps to be sure that this issue doesn't happen anymore. And the final point is to do the exercise of what went well and what went wrong. Because basically, if, for example, you deploy on your website and you have to work on it after that, you will notice that it's broken. But at the end, the first issue was the fact that your monitoring didn't detect the issue. So it's important also to do this exercise, and the same for the what went wrong, because, for example, in my case, the revert procedure could have failed. And in that case, it means that you have also to work on your revert procedure to test it and be sure it works. And voilà. I think I was pretty fast.
So if you have any questions, now is the time.
Hello. When you say that you deploy for specific customers, when you are on block freeze for
yes.
e-commerce, how do you deploy in your all your architecture? Because all nodes are shared between all your customers. So you use only a golden customers?
So the thing is, we have multiple clusters, and for enterprise customers, they have their own dedicated cluster, so we can deploy of them.
Okay.
On self-serve cluster, we have like too much different use cases to be able to deploy on it. So that's how. But if you have only one website, it's harder to do the same. Then you can use feature flags to enable only the part of the new features for like some customers.
Thank you.
Any other question? Can you pass the? Thank you.
I got a question. Did you do post-mortems before, or did you just start it after this issue? And have you improved the way you write them? And last one, how do you make sure you follow up on the actions you have decided on the postmortems and make sure it's done afterward?
So first for the postmortem, so we introduced that 6 months before the issue, and what we did is that we took like a template of existing postmortems, and we added few things on top. So that's the first question. The second one is for the action items. So for the action items, we put a name on each action. So it's the responsibility of this guy to be sure that this issue is fixed and so on. Because if you don't have a owner for a task, it's the issue for nobody.
Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you, Xavier.